Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. It's always great to have former Assemblyman Dov Hikind with us. Last time he was on the show, oh boy, did we get a lot of heat. He took the sovereign community to task for having an anti-Zionist, anti-Israel rally. But you know what? That's nothing compared to the heat he's gotten right now. He's over 2 million views just when he announced he was switching from being an active supporter of Curtis Sliwa to join the ranks of Governor Andrew Cuomo and promote him. So welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Zev.
Thank you for joining us again. So I know that was intense heat. So now you made the switch. You were gung-ho. You were with Curtis Sliwa. Yoni, your son, was involved in the campaign. What happened when you decided to say, you know what? I'm switching. I'm converting from Sliwa to Cuomo.
Yeah. What happened was very, very simple. And that is, we all realized from the very beginning that the goal had to be to defeat Mandani, period, end of the story. Whatever issues I or anyone have with Cuomo, and I'm sure those are legitimate issues, I think we all know what Mandani represents, the danger that he represents to all New Yorkers, in particular the Jewish community. I mean, just the stuff that's been coming out the last couple of days, his connections with really radical Islamists. Linda Sarsour, that well-known anti-Semite who supports terrorism against civilians in Israel. Her record is very, very clear. She's literally the architect of his campaign. I mean, this is a very dangerous individual. I think people realize that. So as we were moving along, it became very, very clear. And believe me, we were waiting for signals that, there's going to be a major change. Curtis did very well in the second debate. You know, we're watching those poll numbers. And, nothing really changed.
So you decide...
We have to do everything possible. Each and every one of us to do whatever we can to support the one that has the best chance of defeating Mandani. And there's no question that is Cuomo. People who still sit back, it's amazing. Look, everyone has a right to do whatever they want to do, of course, but you are fooling yourself. If you are saying, Curtis can still win, it ain't happening.
Well, let me ask you,
polls. But forget it. If you want to stop Mandani, whether you like Cuomo or not, and if you don't, I totally understand. You must support him. You must vote for him. Period. End of the story. And that's exactly what it became. Look, Zev, you know me, and everybody knows me, really. To me, it's not about Curtis. It's not about. It's the cause that matters. That's what it's all about. So it became clear that the only person that has a chance of defeating Mandani is Cuomo. And I believe right now, with the huge turnout going on in the Jewish community, the Black community, the fact that overwhelmingly the voters as of now, the first 4 days or so, are 55 and up, which is, Mandani, he's got the younger people with him. But the vote from older people, 55 and up, is just incredible. So, it ain't over till it's over, but there is definitely a serious race. There's no question that Cuomo's moving up in the polls. There's no question that Mamdani's moving down in the polls. And if everyone goes out to vote, and again, I urge you to vote for Cuomo. Voting for Curtis, I understand you want to be, you like him and so on. So do I, by the way. I like him as much as you like him. But it's about stopping Mandani, plain and simple.
So what was Curtis's reaction when you told him that you were switching? He probably wasn't expecting it.
Look, the campaign Look, I don't know what they were expecting. People who run for office for all positions, everybody feels they can win. Even someone running, who's running at 1% or less, they always feel like maybe something is going to happen. My reputation and who I am and what I care about, and my commitment to to all people, but in particular to the Jewish community, with the kind of anti-Semitism and Jew hatred that we are faced with right now that we have never seen in my lifetime. There's nothing like this, not even close. Mandani represents a victory, and I'll say this very simply. If, God forbid, he wins, do you know who's going to celebrate? Hamas. Seriously. And all the radical Islamists all over the world, because Mandani is their boy. He's their guy. He represents their views.
Their values.
Do you want that? Do you want that? I don't think so.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Nothing sticks with Mandani. His father is a known anti-Semite to Israel. In fact, he said, I don't know if you know this, though, but in a book in 2020, he said that, Hitler and the Nazis learned how to kill Jews from the United States because we were involved in racism and imperialism. Can you believe that?
Zev, I'm beginning to understand how Mandani became the radical Islamist that he is, supporting terrorist organizations. I didn't quite understand exactly where he got it. Who are his teachers? Who directed him? Now I get it. His father wrote a book, not only what you said, but his father actually says in the book, and by the way, in the coming days, we are going to publicize that in a very, very big way. His father actually lauds suicide bombers. Suicide bombers, if you didn't know this, probably.
Wow, I did not know that.
Bad people. It's in the book. It's in the book. It's what his father says. Listen, not so hard to understand. Professor at Columbia University, of course, what do you expect? But is that amazing? His father, the Nazis learned from America. Suicide bombers it's a cause. It's not a bad thing. Can you believe this? And I got to tell you, father, son, they're very, very close. Everybody knows that. It isn't like, oh, well, the son doesn't really feel that way. The son is very, very different.
But by the way, Dov,
no, they're one and the same.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but that 2020 book that I quoted, he dedicates it to his son, and he tells his son to be a revolutionary. So he's telling his son, go out and do these things. And his mother was getting money from North Korea. Well, he was getting money from North Korea. His mother was getting from Qatar and from George Soros. So you have all these great teachers.
It's coming. All this stuff is coming out now at the end. I don't know where everybody was many months ago, including Cuomo when he was running against Mandani. All this was there. Wasn't, by the way, 2020 book, not 2010. Not
2020, right.
No, my point is pretty recent. You didn't have to go do ancient history. Okay, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. No, a couple of years ago. What do you think was going on in the Mandani family table when they were talking, when they were discussing? What do you think they were saying about Jews and about Zionists, those Jews and so on and so forth? From the river to the sea. Globalize the Intifada. Globalize the Intifada. We know what that means. It means murder every single Jew in the world, especially according to Chuck Schumer in his book. That's what he says. So we're all beginning to understand, where he comes from, where the young Mandani comes from. He had a very good teacher, his mother, his father, people that he associated with. This is a radical Islamist that will destroy New York. And look, there are issues. There are issues of affordability, and elected officials, hopefully Cuomo, they will address the issues. People are having a tough time, and we need to deal with that. But Mandani will destroy the city as we know it, period.
Now let me answer this question, because I know the Jewish community originally supported Adams. Hakaras Tov, we got to thank him for he's standing up for us. And then when he wavered, we weren't sure what to do. So I don't notice a lot of enthusiasm for any of the candidates. And that's the problem we're facing is nobody's passionate. For Mandani, people are passionate. I want to vote for Mandani. I want a free lunch, a free dinner, a free mortgage, whatever it might be. I don't see that passion in any other candidate. And that's something which makes it more difficult for anybody to overcome the Mandani appeal factor.
Well, there is passion now to vote for Cuomo. The passion is not so much for him of wanting to survive, of not being afraid to walk the streets of New York, which right now even is, you're wearing a yarmulke, you're wearing a Star of David. I mean, how many people have I met, Zev, you know this, people who, if they wear a Star of David, women, they hide it.
They cover it up.
Or men, if they have anything. People who speak Hebrew are not speaking Hebrew. People who speak Yiddish don't speak Yiddish because, that's a Jew. Because it's not about Zionism, it's about Jews. If you have a restaurant in New York and you have a Star of David in the window, you are a Jew. Forget about whether you're a Zionist or not. So the passion not be there for Cuomo as an individual. Maybe that will come one day when, he will accomplish great things for New York. But the passion is there. People are going out to vote. I was watching what was going on in Borough Park today. You had to wait online for an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours just to be able to vote. There is passion throughout the community because we want to live. We want to survive. We don't want to be afraid.
Now, certainly our guest is formerly Assemblyman Dov Hikind. He converted. Well, he actually converted twice. He converted from being a Democrat to a Republican. And then he was working to help the Republican Curtis Sliwa run for mayor of New York. And now he's converted to working for the Democrat. Well, the independent candidate, I should say, Andrew Cuomo. The Democrat, unfortunately, is Zoran Mamdani. So have you spoken to Andrew Cuomo since you made the switch?
I spoke to Cuomo on Friday. He called me last Friday. We had a very long talk about a lot of things. He, by the way, said to me, I know you're angry at me. I know you're upset with me. And we had a very, very good conversation again. And then we spoke again on Sunday, this past Sunday. But again, he knows quite well. He's a smart guy. No one ever accused Cuomo of not being a smart guy. He knows quite well that the masses that are beginning to vote for Cuomo, and the fact that right now, if this continues the way it's going now, I actually believe he's going to win. And actually, he may not even be so close. If these numbers continue from now, early voting and on election day, it could be an amazing victory for Cuomo. But he's not stupid. He knows the enthusiasm is not there. He knows he's made mistakes and so on, like all of us make mistakes. But look, he's running, he wants to be mayor. And people remember some of the things that went on. So right now, everyone, you like Curtis? So do I. Okay? But you want to defeat this monster. He's a monster. You don't want our enemies to celebrate on election night that their guy won. The supporter of terrorism won. You don't want that. So love Curtis. By the way, I hope at some point, I know we're getting close, it's only a couple of days, Curtis cares about New York as much as anyone. He's looking at the numbers. He's a smart guy. One of the greatest things that he could do to go down as a hero is, even if it's the last moment, to support Cuomo. That would be huge. And I think that possibility is still there. No one, I noticed, Zev, there's one particular person, Adams, in the New York Post. I don't know if you saw it. She was so nasty to Curtis. It was so freaking disgusting what she did, saying horrible things about Curtis. I don't know what she thought, oh, this is going to convince Curtis. Oh, being nasty and being miserable to somebody. Curtis has done great things for New York. He cares deeply about New York. He's been out there day and night more than anyone else. He's a good guy, but he can't win. And we cannot afford to lose New York. We cannot afford to lose our communities. And I'm not exaggerating. We have never had a situation politically where we have a monster like this, Mandani, running for office, who endangers all of New York and in particular the Jewish community.
Well,
I think
Dov,
people get it, they understand it.
Dov, I had a 2-hour live conversation on the radio with tons of phone calls last Saturday night. And first of all, 2 things. Number 1, he told me he is not dropping out of the race, and I believe him. Number 2, he mentioned that he hates Cuomo. He's never going to work together with him. He made that very clear. So if you're going to count on him dropping out, it's not going to happen. But I'm not
counting on anything. I'm saying that I know that he loves New York.
He does.
I know that he knows what Mandani represents. He's a smart guy. He knows. Okay. And I hope that at some point, he changes his mind. By the way, I know what he's saying, but if he changed his mind, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He cares for New York. He doesn't have to work. If he doesn't want to work for Cuomo, if Cuomo gets elected, that's fine. He doesn't have to. But he can and accomplish great things in a Cuomo administration. But if he doesn't want to, he can go on with his life, doing radio, doing television, and being a bigger star than ever before if he does the right thing.
Now, there was a poll that came out today, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it pretty much stated that maybe 67% of those voting for Curtis wouldn't switch to Cuomo. Maybe 14, 15% would. So even if he dropped out, I'm not sure if it would translate into a lot of extra votes for Andrew Cuomo.
Well, look, it could be a very, very close election, by the way, even if Curtis stays in. I think that the polls have him 11%, 13%. I think as time moves on, the final numbers will be much lower because people don't want to look. Those that are diehard people for Curtis, they're going to stay with Curtis. Doesn't matter. They're going to tell you, Zev, that, and I think even Curtis may have said that Mandani and Cuomo, one is worse than the other. They're both terrible. There's no difference. Now, I don't know how anyone in this can say that Cuomo and Mandani, doesn't matter. They're both the same. I mean, one guy, really? Is that how we feel in our communities? That is preposterous. Look, when you're upset, when you're angry, when you're disappointed, and look, Ina Vernikov, so many other people who care about Curtis. They love Curtis. But there's a bigger goal here, and that is to defeat this monster. What am I going to be, a nice guy? I don't give a darn about, let Mandani win. I'm being honest with myself, and I'm being honest with everyone out there. Am I in love with Cuomo? Am I, oh my God, what an amazing guy he is? You haven't heard me say any of those things. I'm hoping that he'll be a great mayor. But I know one thing about Mandani. We have his record. We know what he has said. He said he will defund the police. He said the most horrible things about police officers. And one of the things Mandani said a while ago, believe what I say. That's what he said. And I do. By the way, Mandani is the most honest politician around, Zev. He really means everything he says. It's not exaggeration. He is really lishma. He means everything that he says. And you know what that means for our community.
Now, by the way, it was written up in the New York Times. He said he's willing to compromise on lots of things, almost everything. There's one thing he won't compromise on: Palestine. He said that openly. So forget about an Israeli Day Parade who's trying to make sure is not invested in by New York. He's going to do whatever he can to undermine the Israeli and Jewish community.
Zev, I wish there were more Jewish leaders who were so committed to Jewish causes in Israel as Mandani is committed to Palestine.
He
Right?
certainly
He is. That's what I'm saying. This is real. He's not,
He's not joking.
He is not joking. He's not saying, I don't really mean it. That's it. No, everything that he has said, he means. He is real, guys. He's very, very real. Don't be fooled by his smile. Don't be fooled by the rhetoric. Don't be fooled by someone in Satmar who says, I met him. He's not such a bad guy. Can you imagine someone saying that? Can you imagine how pathetic that is for someone to go to a Nazi, for instance, a Nazi, okay, and meet with them, and they're nice. They give you a cup of coffee. They give you a cup of water. They talk nice to you. Yeah, they want to kill Jews. They want to murder Jews, and they think Hitler was wonderful, but he's a nice guy. He was a nice guy. That's what Moishendik said. Nice guy. I mean, God forgive him. I'm not talking about Mandani. I'm talking about Indik.
Our guest is former Assemblyman Dov Hikind, head of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. He made the switch from being an active, vocal, passionate supporter of Curtis Sliwa to now joining Governor Andrew Cuomo's campaign to ensure that he becomes mayor of New York. What's the strategy as far as the Jewish community is concerned in the waning days of the campaign to reach out to Jews and do more?
Well, myself and people that I work with, we're doing our part, and I think everybody's going to see some very interesting stuff in the coming days, very original stuff that will be hitting all the communities. But look, it's very simple. People are voting already, and at great numbers. In communities like Borough Park and other Jewish communities, people don't vote early voting. That doesn't happen. Nobody vote. They hardly vote on election day, much less the early voting.
It's like davening. It's late voting.
Exactly. They vote late after the election is over. They complain, right? But that has changed. And this reminds me, as you and I spoke, it reminds me of one other election where there was such, determination to win an election. That was back in 1992. When David Dinkins was running for re-election after the Crown Heights riots and everything that happened against Rudy Giuliani. And it was a very, very close race. I was involved. I was a Democrat. It doesn't matter. If I'm a Democrat, I support Republicans. I'm a Republican. I will support a Democrat if I feel the Democrat is better than the Republican. I'm a loyal American. I'm a loyal Jew, period. And hopefully loyal to God. I do my best. But the bottom line is, early voting, people online for an hour and a half in early voting in Borough Park, in
That's
Midwood,
amazing.
other communities. That tells you something is cooking, Zev. Something good is going on.
And we'll find out. Sure enough, we encourage everybody to vote, and I'm telling people to take the high pledge, get 18 people to vote. I think it's important to do that.
If that happens, we win.
Which is so important. Now, what did the governor tell you as far as what he'd like to see you doing in the Jewish community?
Well, I'm not going to discuss any of my conversation with the governor. We're doing, by the way, if I never spoke to the governor, if he hadn't called me, and if I didn't speak to him on Sunday, it's irrelevant, Zev. You know me. I was going to do whatever I could to stop Mandani. And if Cuomo was the guy that had the best chance, I was going to support him. He didn't have to talk to me. We spoke twice for quite a nice amount of time. I don't want to go into it, but they were good conversations. But he didn't have to call me. By the way, I didn't ask. There were people who called me. Someone called me who said, the former governor would like to call you. Will you take his call? That's what they asked me. Mm-hmm. I said, are you kidding? I mean, if he calls me, of course I'll talk to him. But I didn't ask anyone to call me. Before I make the endorsement, I need to talk to him. I need to sit down. I need to discuss things. No. Mandani, period. That's all I care about. We got to stop him, period.
Was there any flack that you received from people saying, how could you be this loyal to Curtis Sliwa? What are you doing? Are you getting a lot of flack?
So I'll tell you, generally, within the broad, there were many, many people who were waiting for me to make the decision. And once I did, they went along with it. So within our communities, I have to be honest with you and tell you, zero. Zero. Can you believe
Zero.
that? On social media, as I said, our announcement, the actual video of my supporting Cuomo is now at 2.1 million people.
Amazing.
That's really quite amazing. And look, it's been all over. And again, what I say about Curtis, and I will not change it, even if he's angry at me, whatever he says about me, it doesn't matter. He's a good guy who's done a lot of good. Is he perfect? Am I perfect? Nobody's perfect except Hashem. Nobody's perfect. But we have to stop Mandani to save our communities. And that's not a political slogan. I feel that with all my heart and soul.
Has he spoken out? I'm referring to Curtis, who was saying, Dov, how can you do it? Has he made any public pronunciations about the fact that you left?
I haven't heard anything with regard to that. And, I'm a big boy. I've been around a long time, been through a lot of races and ups and downs and so on and so forth. I don't know why he would want to waste his time and highlight that more. But I haven't heard anything in terms of Curtis. But look, of course, he's disappointed, and his people that I worked with, who are really nice people who mean well. But Zev, we got to win. This is not a race. Well, if Dov doesn't win, Zev will win. If Zev doesn't win, Dov will win. It doesn't really matter. You stick with whoever. I always stick with the person that I support. But now when you have a monster like Mandani running, in that case, we have to just unite and do everything in the world with God's help to defeat this monster. Or we give a victory to our enemies all over the world. From Gaza to Paris to London, you name it. Mandani wins. You're going to see the marches. This will be their victory in New York, in Hikind. Imagine if that happens.
That's a 1990 slogan, Hikind.
Yeah,
anyway, Jesse Jackson.
I don't think anybody remembers that even.
Jesse, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. All right.
Jesse Jackson, of course.
So you're over optimistic or pessimistic regarding the upcoming election? You think that the Governor Cuomo is going to pull it off?
I am cautiously optimistic based on what I see now. Remember, we I think another day or so of early voting, and then we have the election on Tuesday. So I am cautiously optimistic. But look, everything is in Hashem's hands, and I believe that, except that God wants us to do our part. So if we do our part, I know what's best for the Jewish community. I can't imagine anyone saying that Mandani is the best person for the Jewish community. Maybe for the radical Jews on the left who march with our enemies in the streets of New York against the people of Israel and march in support of Hamas. Those Jews want Mandani. I don't believe people from our communities, they understand what Mandani represents.
What's at stake? We only a few moments left. If Mandani does win, what next?
America's against anti-Semitism will be busier than ever.
Unfortunately. Dov Hikind, former Assemblyman, who is the head of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. He was with Curtis Sliwa passionately, and now he's converted to the Andrew Cuomo camp to make sure that Mandani does not get to be the next mayor of New York.
That's it. Right. Exactly.
Thank you for joining us.
Always good to be with you, Zev.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.